Hi everyone and welcome to chapter 5. Today we're going to look at the communication styles, a key to adaptive selling today. So it's a big day today as you saw when I posted. So let's go. This is a fairly easy chapter. We already looked at some of this information in the past, and so we will break it down now. So we're all going to look at the 4 communication styles. And I think I did send you already we did this a while ago actually to find out what your communication style is, but please do answer me from here if you want me to re-send you or post the communication style personality tests to find out exactly what is your communication style. Okay, so yeah, we're going to look at 2 dimensions, and we're going to look at 4 communication styles, and we're also going to look at 3 zones. This is very interesting stuff. Okay, so we're also going to achieve personal versatility and build strong selling relationships with style flexing. So there's a word that you need to know what it means, the word flexing. Okay, so communication styles is really personality, the thoughts, feelings, and actions that make you who you are, characterize someone, who you are. And in communication styles, there's always different styles that we look at. Again, this is communication style. So in other words, how we communicate. So voice patterns, eye movement, speed, tone, nervousness, stress, social style, all these things are added up together to give you your communication style. So can you guess what yours is? I have a good feeling I know what yours is. I'm not sure you know what mine is. Try to guess what mine is. So communication style is really adaptive selling, right? This is altering sales behaviors in order to improve communication with the customer. And this is where you have to sort of act or mirror the customer and be like them. Not exactly like them, certainly, but you need to mirror them and follow their ways. If they're talking fast, if they're leaning forward, if they're not looking at you, if they are looking at you, all these little things play a huge part that a lot of people don't realize how important it is in sales and don't realize this is happening, but this is happening. So there's always a bias when it comes to communication style, which is a state of mind we often have or experience when we have contact with other persons. In other words, we have a bias, we have a set belief before we meet the person. And so this is why we have to make sure to find out what their style is, right? So it's very difficult sometimes to do that because of bias and also because of what we presume and presumptions of a certain person, and we build on that. So this is built on for ages or for your lifetime, and a bias could also be a cultural bias or ethnic bias. All these are bias. Also how the customer is dressed. Again, this is all got to do with communication bias. So what are the principles? Individual differences exist and are very important. A style is a way of thinking and behaving, certainly. Individual style differences tend to be very stable, but there are a different finite or uncountable number of different styles when you take in consideration all of us, some of us are more one than the other, or some of us are a combination of all. All right, so to create the most productive relationships, ability to speak the other person's language. This is not necessarily to do with the actual language itself, but it's got to do with tone, eye movement, speed. Words are very important too. Using the same words are important. That's what that means too. And we're looking at style flexing, or we're going to look at style flexing. This is when you flex yourself deliberately to be like the other person. And this is very difficult to do because some happens is that when we are one style, it's very difficult to be another. And you'll see when we look at all 4 styles, you'll know exactly what I mean. Okay, before we look at styles, we have to look at the 2 dimensions. And there are 2 dimensions. There's dominance and there's sociability. So dominance reflects the tendency to influence or exert one's will over others in a relationship. So that is one dimension that we all have at different levels. Some of us have a very high dominance level and some of us have a very low one, but we all have one. And we all have a sociability level, which is a dimension, I should say, which reflects the amount of control one exerts over emotional expressiveness. Again, we all have this at different levels. Some of us are very sociable and very expressive, or very emotive. There's another word that you need to know. And some of us are not. They're just a little bit less. But we still have a level of sociability. So if you look at dominance continuum, which is the two levels of low and high, if you have the low, it's quite cooperative, let others control things, low in assertiveness. On the other scale of high, here you can just imagine, I'm quite sure if you just think for a minute, some personalities or people that you know, whoever are to control things, frequently initiate demands, and some are very aggressive. So you can see exactly what I mean by that. This is a dominance one. So if you look at the sociability, it's the same thing. On high, outgoing, seeks interaction, less formal for sure, and on the low scale, reserved, likes to be alone, and a little bit more formal and polite. So there are really highs and lows on both sociability and on dominance. So now if we put those two together, we'll get across, and this is how it will look. You've got high sociability, high dominance, low sociability, low dominance. So let's now look at the four. So you can just tell by this that there's four styles. One is inside here, another one here, another one here, another one here. So let's look at the four styles. The first style is emotive. You might know this also by expressive, or if you look at colors, this would be the color yellow. So expressives are yellow, and or emotives or expressives are yellow, and they are high sociability and high dominance. They're the only one that have high dominance and high sociability. So the emotive style appears quite active, very initiative when it comes to social events, likes to encourage, very strong-willed, will always be the first to ask questions, and sometimes they will take the time to listen to your questions, but they will want to be as sociable as possible, right? They're very expressive when it comes to their opinions, and sometimes if they don't get their way, they turn and they become completely opposite. So there are good things about every style, and there are certainly bad sides on every style. So we'll get into that too. The next one is director, or as you might know it, the A-type, or also the driver. Okay, so this is driver, director, or the A-type. And here you've got high dominance, and you've got low sociability. All right, so there again, can you think of someone in the public eye who fits right in here? Again, who fits right? Who do you know in a public eye, or do you know personally that would fit here, or someone that would fit here? In this, you will find they are aggressive, intense, requiring pushy, very serious people, very bold, and not very sociable. So they're low on the sociability scale. So directors appear to be quite busy all the time, running very fast, talking very fast, might not listen to your answers of your questions if that bores them, and they will sometimes even walk away. So they're very serious, and they like to have control of the situation. If they don't get control, then they usually turn away and leave, or they will fight to get it. So this is director or driver or A-type, same thing. Now the next one you got here is reflective. So you got low sociability, low dominance. So reflective is also someone that is analytical. And okay, before I do that, let's let you know the colors. I did mention the color of emotives are yellow. Directors, can you guess what color that is? Yes, it's right there. The color red are directors or directive. And reflectives, they are blue. Blue usually is aligned with being accountants and precision, scientific, meticulous, methodical, disciplined. And again here, When you're very low sociability, you always have the tendency to give off an air of seriousness. So reflectives are low dominance and low sociability, right? And certain characteristics, verbal and nonverbal, controls emotional expression. In other words, you're not going to see a wide variety of emotional expressions, be it sad or be it happy. It's very, very neutral. Displays a preference for orderliness, certainly. Tends to express measured opinions. In other words, they will not tell you everything that's on their mind, so they guard on that. And they seem difficult to get to know. That is true. A lot of reflectives are very hard to get to know because they don't say very much. So do you know anybody that is this way? Are you this way? And the last one we've got is supportive. Here we have low dominance, but we have high sociability. And the color here would be green. So you've got emotives that are yellow, directors that are red, reflectives that are blue, just in case you want to know the colors that are aligned with them, and supportives are green. Usually when someone has a combination of all four colors and you're inside here, the color that is called on here is purple. So supportives, very reserved, also very patient. Very warm people though, very relaxed, very confident, but they don't show their confidence as much as someone that has high dominance, but they are certainly still high. Again, all four have different traits, and certainly all four can show confidence in a different way. So if you look at the verbals and nonverbals, supportive gives appearance of being quiet and reserved, but they're still very sociable once they open up. They will certainly laugh a lot when it's time to laugh. Listens attentively to other people, want to know what they're thinking. Very empathetic are supportives. Tends to avoid the use of power, but the big thing about supportives, they know how to use power in their own way. In sales, used to be the number one style that companies used to look for were the A-types or directors. In today's world, supportives are more impressive than any other of the styles that we look for or that is looked for in sales. So we're talking about sales. The number one style is supportive. Okay, so popularity of the four style model. Here you have, as you can see, been using a wide range of training programs. If you take a look at supportives, amiables, if you want, these are all programs that are being used. Dominance is also when it comes to directors and expressives. So minimizing communication style bias, there are quite a few. So there is a barrier to success in selling when you don't realize or understand what the customers or the buyers style is. This is what bias means. You can't figure it out. That's why you have to be very attentive, and you have to know who you are before you can figure out anybody else. This is why we do the color personality test. So again, if you want me to repost that, I certainly will. So common problem, because we'll deal with people from all four quadrants. If you don't know your own style, you can't decipher anybody else's style for sure. So the bias, you must be able to develop rapport with people from each quadrant. So no matter what style you are in sales, you need to be able to develop and flex towards other style. Some do it very well. Some need a little bit of work. But everybody could do this if you prepare yourself in advance. Certainly, if you are in a position where you have no choice, like working in sales, and this is the only job you've got, let me tell you, you will learn very quickly how to flex, because you will not get any sales and you will not get any commission, and you will probably never work in sales again if you cannot do this. So here, a salesperson who is highly adaptable can usually build rapport with customers regardless of their communication style. Style flexing is a sales strategy that can be learned. All you have to do is prepare and practice. So you can do this. This is why I make you do the elevator pitch, or have done already, because the elevator pitch opens up also your style. We see your style, and possibly you need to adapt to whomever is in front of you as an investor. So adaptive selling certainly does require versatility. So each style has a certain side or a certain weakness or a certain strength. And if we look at what we talked about, we looked at the two dimensions, which was dominance and sociability. We looked at the four different styles. Now let's look at the strength-weakness paradox. Here you have three, or we call them zones actually. So you've got zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. When you are in zone 1, which is represented here by the white, here you are less intense than other more different types, I should say, style. Here you have very difficult for people to figure out who you are, because you're closer to the center. And when you are emotive in zone 1, you're not as emotive as someone that is in zone 2 or as someone who's in zone 3. So here you have tendency of showing, I should say, you have tendency of showing different characteristics from the different styles. So when someone is in here or a buyer is inside here, this is where it becomes very difficult to find out what their style is, because they have tendency of showing different characteristics or verbal signs or nonverbal signs from different styles. It can get complicated. And as you go further away from the center of the circle, the intensity grows. Certainly someone here will be very emotive. Here in the blue, someone will be very directive, reflective, or supportive. Also supportive, another word for supportive, which I forgot to mention before, besides green, is amiable. So you've got amiable, analytical, director or driver, emotive, or expressive. When someone is up here in the excess zone, right? This is when someone really shows their true colors, who they are when it comes to their styles, and they are, you will see the stress levels of someone that's up here, certainly, and will be very well representative. You cannot miss when someone is in the excess zone. And why this is showing, or why I show you this, because when you do some personality tests, really elaborate ones. I know I had taken one with something like 500 questions, and when we got the answer, I had sort of a position somewhere inside here, and it represented if I was inside here, or inside here, or here, but anywhere inside here. So in other words, if I'm closer to this wall, that means I'm more reflective. If I'm closer to this wall, I am more expressive. You know what I mean? So you can have dots and dots and dots of everybody, inside these circles. And some people, when they are inside here, like I said before, they would be considered to be purple, and they have characteristics of all four. And usually this comes with age. When you're a little older, you have more experience, and you have tendency to be able to switch or flex towards any style, and it's very hard for anybody to find out who you are, I should say. That's why still flexing, deliberate attempt to adapt one's communication style to accommodate the needs of another person. And this is also very important, because people like to be mirrored, believe it or not. They're more sensitive, and they like to adapt to people that are more like them. They will buy from someone that is more like them. So a driver would buy more from a driver, let's say, than someone that's analytical and slow and not exactly at the same level of intensity of a driver. So it's the same thing. If someone's very expressive, they certainly like to hang around with people that are expressive. I worked in sales for a very long time, and I took this course, or knew about this a long time ago, when I did take this test. And let me tell you, it works. I can tell you this. I've adapted to different styles, and sometimes, it's very hard for you to stay. It's almost like you're acting. So as you walk in the door, you got to say, okay, this buyer is this style. I have to be more like them or like her or like him. And you have to say that to yourself because you have to automatically flex to become more like them, or else you'll look like a fraud, and people or buyers will notice that, wait a minute, you're only doing this, so you're a fake kind of a thing. So you got to think about that too. And in sales, usually, right, there's a huge rule. Do unto others as they want done unto them, right? So that is a rule that you have to always follow when you're in sales. That means is be more like them. Okay, so just to finish off, building relationships with emotive customers. Again, you have to be more like them. You got to move at a pace to hold their attention. You have to be a little bit more sociable, so that means you have to be a bit more enthusiastic. You got to take time to establish or build relationships. And sometimes too much detail, they don't like that. And so facts and details, they're leaning towards being sociable. So they don't look at this very much. They like that you support their ideas, but they'll support your ideas also. And certainly you ask questions, maintain eye contact. Again, they're very sociable. And you need to listen attentively. Sometimes they'll talk very slow, so you have to have a good understanding of what they're saying. Now, if you're going to flex towards someone that is director, you cannot act like someone that is supportive or reflective. You need to be a bit more businesslike. You need to be efficient. Don't be late. I guarantee you, even 5 minutes late, that someone is a driver or director, and they'll tell you, and they won't do business with you. I can tell you this for a fact. Use facts. They love facts. They love good outcomes. They love success, and they love to meet their objectives. So if you cannot help them meet their objectives in sales, they will go out and find somebody else that can or will, and they will. And here they like specific questions, and also be very careful with the facts. Make sure you have them aligned, and don't lie to a director, because they'll catch you in a flash, and the relationship with them is over. No chance with directors. Reflectives, again, they like to be, they're very low dominance and very low sociable. So be prompt, well prepared. Their time for them is important, and it's their time. No nonsense. Need to also be very businesslike. Like I said, very low dominance, very low sociability. Here again, they're a lot like emotives. You have to be a bit more slow and also very deliberate. And you need to always back up your information. If you meet someone that is a reflective, you need to have facts, and they want to see them. They won't believe you unless you show them proof of something functioning properly. Or let's say if you tell them in an elevator pitch, this product does this, this, and that, they're going to say, prove it to me. Okay. And never pressure them to make a quick decision. They, again, I've been through all, I can tell, as I'm talking about this, I can just picture in my mind all the buyers I had that were in my past that were reflective. Because I know they're very slow, and I can tell you, you won't forget a customer or a buyer that is a reflective. You won't remember, you'll never forget any of the styles once you get to understand what this is all about, and you apply this. And you could apply this also to all your friends and families, and you'll see how what your style is versus everybody else's styles. And sometimes if you have a conflict with somebody, it's certainly got to do with this. And with supportives, learn about family, hobbies, and major interests to build a social relationship. Listen carefully to personal opinions and feelings. Be professional, have a friendly approach, offer personal assurances and support, and be patient and avoid conflict if possible. And last and not least, certainly a little word of caution. Be careful not to use labels that make people feel boxed in, typecast, or judged. So don't tell customers, or don't tell anybody that you think they are a certain style or certain dominance or certain sociability. Have that in your mind and understand what that is, and always you need to clarify that as you go along and finding out what people's styles are. But one thing they don't like to be told is what they are, or judged, or typecast, or because bias sometimes plays a big part. So do not classify them. Classify what their strengths are and what they like as preferences, but don't go out and tell them you think or know that they are a certain style. No one likes this, I guarantee you. Do keep it in mind though, but don't advertise this, okay? That you know this or know that. And in sales, usually you keep that to yourself. You don't talk about that to other sales personnel or anybody else. Usually you always try to keep that information to yourself. Great, so that's it. This is chapter 5. We'll talk to you later.